they say, every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Public officers are expected to carry out official duties conscientiously, with integrity and diligence, without the expectation of any benefit apart from their lawful emoluments and allowances. However, some officials go against the values of the service that they are supposed to uphold and demand or expect bribes through sexual gratification to influence their performance. No doubt, a very worrisome form of gratification is sexual gratification or sextortion. Also, in Nigeria's educational institutions, learners are often harassed for sexual favors by their instructors or lecturers and those in positions of authority. This is very disheartening. Many examples of this ugly trend have made Nigerians call for the formulation of policies that criminalizes sexual abuses. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Hawasani Garba. ICPC has been doing a lot to address the cases as well as issues around sexual harassment, as it is a form of abuse of office and corruption. Recently, the Commission, in partnership with Gender Mobile Initiative, a non-governmental organization, and with support from Ford Foundation, organized a National Stakeholders Forum to examine draft model policies for educational institutions on sexual harassment. That engagement is our focus for today. Stay with us as we bring you details.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
You are watching Corruption Must Go. The objective of the event was to engage stakeholders from civil society organizations, government agencies, public and private educational institutions to review and harmonize the various sexual harassment policies into one national policy framework. Speaking at the occasion, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owansoye, SAN, said that it was a travesty of justice for students to finally return to school after the issues they are currently facing and then be made to face another challenge of sexual harassment. He also expressed the Commission's readiness to continue to educate its officers and the general public on what amounts to abuse of office. Take a listen.
The past 3 years have been somewhat peculiar, it seems, to the educational sector. the COVID-19 pandemic, the resultant lockdown and forced adjustments in academic calendar have all affected the sector in an unprecedented manner. The industrial action by various unions of academic institutions, including NASU, SANU, ASU, have compounded the situation of students, especially those in tertiary institutions, as public universities have been closed for the past 7 months due to this action, especially by the academic staff union. To be travesty of justice to students in schools who have weathered all the storms finally resume and also have to become victims of another challenge, which is sexual harassment. This malady has over the years been found as a form of corruption, a deviation from the norm for an official in an institution to use office or position to demand, receive, obtain, or attempt to obtain any form of sexual gratification in order to execute his or her duties as a reward for doing such duties. The idea is for official duties to be done in integrity, with integrity, good conscience, due diligence, and without the expectation of any unlawful benefit. However, in Nigeria, as in some other societies, the reverse has almost become the norm. It's become quite common for teaching and non-teaching staff to demand or expect sexual gratification from students to whom they are supposed to serve as parents. Likewise, senior staff have been found to use their office to demand and at times obtain sexual benefits from their juniors. Recipients of such unwanted attention find that they feel forced to comply with the unlawful and unethical demands, otherwise there are consequences and denial of benefits to which they are ordinarily entitled would follow. The culture of silence, because of the fear of reprisal and stigmatization, has allowed this malady to thrive. But with adequate sensitization and appropriate policy implementation, it is hoped that this culture would gradually diminish first and hopefully ultimately change.
Welcome back. You are still watching Corruption Must Go. The Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative, Omowumi Ogunrotimi, in her remarks, noted that while Nigeria tertiary institutions had become the center points for power-driven gender-based violence and harassment, the challenge had not received the required corresponding level of attention. Let's hear her.
It is excellent that we have critical stakeholders present, particularly individuals and organizations who have been at the front line fighting the scourge of sexual harassment. Your participation is a demonstration of your commitment to stem the tide of sexual harassment. As we all know, the past few years have witnessed a global reckoning for perpetrators of sexual harassment, especially by abusers who wield significant power over the abused. While Nigerian tertiary education institutions have become the center port for power-driven gender-based violence and harassment, this challenge has not received the required corresponding level of attention. Perhaps the recent statistics quoted by the World Bank Group on Women, Law and Business on the prevalence of campus sexual harassment needs to be re-echoed for us to understand the urgency required in addressing sexual harassment. That 70% of female students experience sexual harassment is an affront to our shared humanity and values as individuals and as a nation. This spate of violence has been mainly attributed to lack of a comprehensive anti-sexual harassment policy framework, lack of confidentiality-driven reporting channels, and poor institutional response. Within the precincts of existing literature, expository release by Premium Times. The findings indicated that less than 20 institutions of higher learning in Nigeria had an anti-sexual harassment policy, and a negligible number had a dedicated reporting system. Of course, we are all aware that the BBC Sex for Great documentary elevated conversations on pragmatic policy framework that should address emerging issues bordering on power dynamics, social relations, integrity grading system, among others. We are not oblivious of the complexities of the systemic challenge we seek to address. We have all been working to nip sexual harassment in the bud before now. As an organization, we have been focused on higher education system in Nigeria, across the levels of post-secondary education, which cuts across polytechnics, colleges of education, and universities. The overall aim of our work is to develop and improve a system of response that can catalyze improvements in levels of accountability. And of course, achieving this change will directly address other societal issues like norms around patriarchy and sundry issues on improved educational outcomes for every student, particularly female students. And of course, higher levels of transition from higher education to high-paying jobs and senior roles, even for women across the board.
Welcome back. Speaking at the event, the Deputy Senate President, distinguished Senator Ovi Omo Agege, represented by his Chief of Staff, Dr. Otive Ibuzo, noted that the National Assembly, as part of its constitutional and patriotic duty to protect the rights of students to learn peacefully without any form of sexual harassment, had been pushing for a sexual harassment tertiary institutions prohibition, prevention, and redress bill.
The country was awakened to the level of sexual harassment in our tertiary institution when the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, in 2019 broadcast to the broader community the shameful tale of a supposed pastor and sub-dean at the University of Lagos who was caught allegedly abusing his office for sexual gains. Ladies and gentlemen, what many female students go through in some of our institutions of higher learning is reprehensible. For example, Ms. Shola of the University of Ibadan, as reported by Vanguard, Hamzat Kwata of the University of Abuja, and Chinelo Menike of the Imo State University, as reported by Premium Times, were prevented from graduating on time as a result of their victimization for daring to reject amoral advances by identified lecturers, some of them heads of department and deans of faculties. From the foregoing, there is no doubt that something urgent needed to be done. As part of its constitutional and patriotic duty, the National Assembly sought to protect the right of students to learn peaceably without any form of sexual harassment. Section 45, Section 1 of the Constitution recognizing this by expressly stating that nothing in Section 37, 38, 39, and 40 of this Constitution shall invalidate any law that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society for the purpose of protecting the rights and freedoms of other persons. To find a lasting solution to the obnoxious behavior, I devoted my time to driving the process for the enactment of the law against sexual harassment. I have the honor and privilege to sponsor the bill, which had the unanimous support of virtually all distinguished senators of the Federal Republic in the 9th Senate. The Sexual Harassment in Tertiary Educational Institution Prohibition, Prevention, and Redressal Bill 2019 is aimed at combating the menace of sexual harassment in our educational institutions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the law seeks to criminalize any act of neglect or failure by administrative heads of institutions to address complaints of sexual harassment within a specified period. It also made provisions to adequately punish anyone found to have leveled false allegations of harassment against lecturers and educators. It imposes a punishment of a 5-year jail term for those found guilty of sexual harassment.
The Honorable Minister of Education, Mana Adamu, also represented by the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Ishak Oloyede, gave a commitment to provide an enabling environment in ensuring compliance with the policy by educational institutions. In the same vein, remarks received from key stakeholders present at the discourse included ICPC board member, Honorable Mrs. Hannatu Mohammed, amongst others.
I want to congratulate you on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Education, the ICPC, for being the vanguard of these preventive measures, one of the preventive measures being taken against corruption. So I wish ICPC very well. You can be sure of the support of the Federal Ministry of Education, particularly to the Federal Minister of Education. We, as the Ministry of Education, we want to assure you that we will do all that is possible to promote these documents as soon as it is perfected. The Ministry of Education will use all within its means to make sure that we support the circulation, dissemination of the information in these documents. Let me also inform that this program, this template will be widely circulated as soon as it is completed and forwarded to us. It is also important for us that the Ministry of Education should go forward the template as model for each government and state Ministry of Education for wider circulation. We will also distribute this. We have found that we are going to distribute the template to all the connected and concerned regulatory agencies. I mean the National Secondary School Education Commission, the National Commission for Colleges of Education, UBEC, NERDC, NTI, TRTN, NAPTEP, and NBTE. The Ministry of Education shall undertake to circulate this at no cost to anybody but to the Ministry of Education.
Sexual harassment is not only common in Nigeria, it's common globally. It's not only common in educational institutions, it's common in every industry. So by the time you are familiar with policies that will be able to guide you, you know where to head. At least you can be able to stop this vicious cycle. Most people that are harassed are, if I may say, weaker in that scenario. The harasser is usually someone that is superior. You may have a boss in the office, you may have your teacher in school, or you may have someone, it could even be in the family. So I think to remove yourself strategically from this kind of situation, this policy is that it may not only apply to schools, but I think it can apply to your life in general, our lives in general, for all of us.
presenting the model anti-sexual harassment policies for educational institutions in Nigeria. The consultant in charge of the ICPC Ford Foundation project, Professor Ayodele Atsenuwa, stated that when sexual harassment persisted, it would then affect qualitative performance and devalue the educational system. She stressed the need for a stand-alone policy to take care of any ambiguity that exists. Let us hear her.
Today we stand at the threshold of change for good. What we do today can shape and will shape the future. It will move us from where we have been for the last 100 years to where it is that we want to be. It will move us closer to our ideal state as against the reality that we have always known. And that is why what we do today is critically important. Sexual harassment is a very serious problem. Yes, we know, we have known, and that is why we're here. Firstly, because it challenges the goal of the realization of some basic human rights, some fundamental human rights that we've all accepted. The right to human dignity. The right to human dignity, which includes the right to be in control of your body in a way that is healthy and not to be invaded, not to be assaulted, not to be exploited. The right to what looks like equality, because when sexual harassment persists or sexual violence persists, when we have done the analysis, we have seen that it affects access to education, especially when it takes place it denies access. It affects qualitative performance. So we commend ICPC and Gender Global for bringing us to where it is that we are today. In particular, it's so happening to see that we're able to now think of sexual harassment, sexual violence in terms of a form of corruption, especially when it takes place in the context of hierarchies of power, school, where the teacher is somebody you don't question, where, especially in Africa, where we are all trained, and it's like you don't question your elders, you respect. You can't slap your teacher's hands away because it would look like you're being disrespectful, and if he or she reports you, then you may not find it easy to explain the context that led to that your rudeness, and then they'll say you are rude, and you will stand condemned.
Corruption can mess up every good thing a nation has. A nation is blessed with every good thing all around. If you and I care, we gonna get there. Just ask me how. It starts from you and I. Make you say no. When they give you bribe or ask you for bribe, make you say no. If you're there for office and tempted to steal, make you say no. We can only kill corruption and greed. They give you bribe or ask you for bribe, make you say no. If you there for office and tempted to steal, make you say no. We can only kill corruption and greed when we say no. When we say no, when we say no, when we say no.
The event also featured a robust panel discussion on the different components of the program. The adoption and implementation of the National Anti-Sexual Harassment Policy will hopefully go a long way in edging this ugly trend out of our society. That's our package on today's edition. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms showing on the screen. Please be reminded that the ICPC Twitter handle is now the same as all other social media handles at ICPC Nigeria. See you again next week for another engaging episode of Corruption Must Go. Bye for now.